Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Ayashimon Chapter 8. I didn't do a review for the last chapter because I felt it was kind of more of a setup chapter. Not really much of substance happened in it. There was basically just the end with Doppo showing up, and that setting up his fight with Maruo. That was pretty much the only thing of significance in the chapter. Whereas this chapter has their actual fight, and then some other stuff involving Urara. Much more to talk about in this chapter, so that's why I just waited until this week. Seems like there's not going to be another 2-week wait, because, got a chapter coming out next week. Hopefully, that one will also be worth talking about. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get right into the chapter, shall we? We get the reveal of Doppo's power in this chapter. He has not ice abilities, but he kind of does. He has yokai fire, like a few of the other yokai we've seen, but instead of his fire burning his opponents, it actually freezes them, technically. It steals away their heat, so I guess that would be freezing them. And as it would turn out, being frozen and having your body sapped of all heat is actually a bit more detrimental in a fight than being, lit on fire. Normal fire. And Maruo is kind of powerless. He kind of gets his ass kicked by Doppo. So, finally, thus far, Maruo is having like an actual real fight in which he's not instantly stomping his opponent. Good to see that we're finally at this point. Now, as this is going on, Urara is thinking about how Maruo is just an expendable pawn and how she can find a new one, but she doesn't really believe that. That's also how she feels about Ayashimon. She's not a disposable pawn. So she takes out this dagger. And this is where we get a little flashback to her after being rescued and hidden away by Ayashimon. This dagger contains her true power, which was sealed away in order to help conceal her identity. So if she's ever in an emergency, she just has to unsheath that dagger and her full power will be released. Now, she doesn't do that this chapter. She's stopped. However, this does mean at some point in the future, whether it's the near future or the far future, we are going to get a big transformation power-up reveal for Urara. Presumably, maybe not when fighting Doppo, maybe when fighting someone else. I mean, Doppo seems like a good character to have that be against. But she's going to have a big, crazy demon power-up, and I imagine it's going to be pretty cool. They call her an Oni, so, I mean, I imagine her true form is going to be one of the cooler ones in the series. It's kind of hard not to be, considering Oni are probably the coolest yokai. If we're being really real here, that's why they're the ones that the most people probably recognize. Now, Doppo has an interesting reaction to this. He pretty much instantly realizes she is the late chairman's daughter. And you would think that he would maybe be, like, flipping out over this or something, but no. Instead, what he does is he starts crying. Like, he sheds a tear. It's not really clear why. And then he tells his goons to shoot her. She was hidden away. He made sure no one even knew she existed. That means she's a nobody. She's not worthy of officially inheriting anything. He abandoned her. So, Urara, this whole time, had been under the impression that she was being hidden away for her own safety. However, according to Doppo, she was abandoned. She was maybe like an illegitimate child or something. He didn't want her for some reason, and so effectively disowned her and just had her go live in the shadows. And Doppo is sad about this. It's not clear why. It seems that he likely pities her in some way. That's why he says that they should just shoot her. I'm quite interested in finding out why that is exactly. I imagine we're going to find out more about Doppo in the future. This is certainly a pretty interesting moment for his character here, I have to say. Now, before Urara can be shot, Maruo gets back up, and instead of going to attack Doppo, he instead gets in front of Urara to protect her, because he's loyal to her, and he's also very, very happy and thankful, as we see from his big dumb smile. So, Maruo is very happy, because up until this point, he's pretty much only fought chumps. He's low-diffed every person that he's gotten into a fight with. But now, here he is against someone who's definitely some kind of final boss, definitely has big final boss vibes. And how could he not be absolutely overjoyed to fight someone like Doppo? So, let's not waste any more time. I'm not gonna fucking lay around or anything. Let's get on with it. I want to keep fighting. Let's go. So I imagine in the next chapter, we're going to be getting into some more combat. Now, Doppo is pretty explicitly not going full power. They didn't do a ritual duel. He said, you're not worth doing a ritual duel for. I'm just going to kick the shit out of you. He hasn't taken his mask off. He hasn't transformed. So he's not going full power. Will Maruo be able to force Doppo to use his full power? Not super likely, but I suppose it's a possibility. He's still gonna lose against Doppo, I think. I don't think he's gonna be beating Doppo at this point, you know? The shonen protagonist needs to have a training arc at some point, and if you're going to have a training arc, it's going to be because you couldn't defeat the big villain. Makes sense to me. So I imagine that even though he's got a second win, we're going in for round 2, I still think ultimately Maruo is going to lose this fight. And they'll get away in some way. Hashihime is in one of Doppo's cars, so I imagine they could probably escape with her at some point. Alternatively, maybe something with the Omnio Bureau, but they're the ones that told Doppo about them being here, so I doubt any of them would step in unless they were doing like some really insane shit that required their intervention. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So with that, that's all I've got to say about Chapter 8 of Ayashimon. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Ayashimon chapter reviews every week that I think we get a pretty interesting chapter. If you're interested in discussing Ayashimon with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce in this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.